Hi everybody, it's Claire back from Art Journal Love with another art project for Grafix Arts. If you head to their website, you can find lots of inspiration from many artists using lots and lots of the graphics products. So here's a list of the products that I've used in this project. So I used some Grafix Chipboard, that's for my page in my art journal, some Grafix Vellum, and some of the white mask Liquid Frisket. So this is just a masking solution from Grafix. So here's a sneak peek at the project I'm going to create today. I started off using a piece of the Grafix Chipboard as my page in my journal. I'm adding some clear gesso to that just so that I can then go in and add paint on there and it won't seep into the chipboard. Things that are craft made can often be quite thirsty when you go in with wet media. So by adding that gesso, you're just kind of putting some underpants on to your page ready before you start. Then, of course, I'm going to go in with some rainbow colours. I want to create a nice bold background to start off with. It gives me something fun to play with, and I'm just going to add some stripes of colour across this page. So there is what the packaging would look like for the chipboard. This is the little journal that I'm working in that I've made myself using Grafix products. And here you can see I'm just continuing adding those colours. So apologies for the beginning of the video. It was in a bit of an odd ratio because I started filming the wrong way round, which was very annoying. But you can kind of still see what was happening. So I'm just going to continue adding those colours. I'm just pulling a simple line across the chipboard. Because it's got that clear gesso on, it's behaving really nicely. It's sitting on the surface. If I hadn't have put the gesso on there, chances are the paint would have not been as opaque as it is here. So the paints I'm using are Dina Wakley Media. They're a heavy body acrylic. So now I'm just going in. I've got some bits of paint left over on my palette and I'm just going to pull some of those onto the chipboard page just to break up that background and bring a bit more interest, and also use up the paint that's left over on my palette so that I'm not wasting any paint. Don't like doing that. Often one way that I will use up leftover bits and bobs is to grab some tags and finish it off by using it on those. So now I've put that to one side and I'm going to go in with a piece of Grafix Vellum. This is very similar to tracing paper in its consistency and its kind of texture. And I'm using some black archival ink and stamping this beautiful rose stamp from Art by Marlene. It's an old one, onto the vellum. Then I'm grabbing the Liquid Frisket from Grafix. Now it's painting on here like it's white. It dries clear. And what this is going to do is just mask out those areas where I'm popping the mask. So that's going to leave those with no colour because I intend to go in onto these roses using some Jane Davenport acrylic ink. Really bold, really colourful. And I wanted to see if the Liquid Frisket would work really nicely on the Duralar, and I think you'll find out it really does. It works really, really well. I'm just using a paintbrush to apply it, but the Liquid Frisket does come with a tool that you can use as well, which is also very good, particularly for little detailed areas. I quite like using my brush for this because this is a brush that I save for just using with masking fluid. So it gets a really good wash afterwards. Definitely don't let it dry, otherwise you will completely ruin your brush, which is why the tool that comes with the kit is quite useful. So I'm just adding in more and more details on these with the masking fluid. You can see where I've started off, that's kind of dried and you can't see it. So now I'm going in with the inks from Jane Davenport. This is just an acrylic ink, but it is very colourful, very pretty. And I am painting those onto the places where there isn't any masking fluid, but I'm not particularly worried because the masking fluid will protect those areas where I've put it. And then I can go in at the end and remove the fluid, the masking fluid, and it should have kept those areas nice and clean. So I'm using these lovely three colours. They're going to play really nicely. If they do bleed into each other, they're just going to make really nice colours. They're not going to make any muddy tones at all. often that's not really what I'm after. I do love to use those bold, bright colours in my work. I like it to be, I don't know, it just kind of makes me happy. It gives me a lot of joy. So the reason for picking these three is these are three colours that will work really well together. In some places the blue did bleed into the yellow, it made a really pretty green. That's absolutely fine, it really doesn't matter at all. Not worrying too much about it going where the masking fluid is, because if that's going to do its job well, it's going to stop the ink going into those areas anyway. And then I just went in with a few pops of this really bright neon pink, just to kind of liven up some little areas here and there. I did give this a little bit of a dry with my heat tool as well before I started to remove the masking fluid, because I didn't really want to smudge wet ink into areas where I'd masked off. So this is a little rubber that comes with the set, which will help you start to lift the masking fluid off. It's very satisfying to peel off your work, a bit like when I was little at school and with my friends we used to put PVA glue on our hands and then peel it off. That it's kind of that sensation. Yeah, it's that satisfying. It's fabulous. So you can see that that has kept those areas where I've put the masking fluid really clean. It has done a great job. So yeah, works on vellum too. In fact, I haven't managed to find a surface yet that this doesn't work on. It's so good. Then I've cut these out and I'm going to pop them onto my background. I'm just going in with some white paint pen on the reverse, so that when I flip that over, you will see it through the back, and it's just going to look really cool. So the reason for some white is just to bring a bit of contrast onto these designs, because there's black, there's colour. For me, I need that black and white contrast on there too. And then this is Dina Wakley Media glue, which I'm just using to stick those in place. I'm going in and adding a few more details using a white gel pen. Just kind of playing really and just seeing, yeah, that pen didn't want to work on there, so I'm swapping to a Posca pen. Sometimes those Signo Uniballs can be a little bit sensitive, particularly if the surface is a bit slippy or even damp at all, they just will not work. And then I've stamped a quote from a set by art by Marlene onto white card. It's going to look really nice on there, and popped that onto my page. I outlined the roses using Stabilo oil pencil, and then I did water activate that as well, just to kind of make that stand out a little bit more from the background. But you can see that slotted nicely into my journal. I think it would be really fun to make a journal with just chipboard pages. So there's the final project. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. It was a really fun one to do, lots of colour, and I really love playing with the vellum because it's got that semi-translucent effect. You can kind of see a glimpse of what's behind, but it's a nice medium to play on. So don't forget, you can head to the Grafix website for more inspiration. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.